Prananda Croeso, and welcome finally to Game 2, Round 1 of the Alamein Attrition campaign. Normally we'd have Sherry for this game, but Sherry is unavailable, so I'll be taking command of the Axis forces this game against Dave. So that would mean for the rest of the campaign I only have one game left, while Sherry has 3 to play. So my regimental commander will have to use me wisely. So it is basically still basically a simultaneous game to game 1. So not so good for the British in the first game. So can Dave steady the line and get a hard-fought win, or me using the Avanti, can I push forward and gain more momentum for the Axis, really putting the British on the back foot? Sit tight and find out. Today's mission is Dust Up. For the campaign, I found it better to start with a meeting engagement, because then no one's on the back foot being the defender straight off. This is the momentum builder, shall we say. So as you can see, all the special rules setting up whatnot on here, and then on the next slide will be a little bit more additional special rules. You've probably all played Dust Up before, but for newer players, this is quite an interesting mission, because you're kind of like waiting for the bulk of your force to arrive, but you can always stage some probing attacks before everything turns up, and sometimes it's better to launch your attack quickly before the good stuff from your enemy turns up. So you'll see how me and Dave approach this. So here is the Avanti force I'll be using in today's mission. We have a rifle company. So we have the HQ, and attached to them we have frontline fighter command card. So this formation command infantry team can re-roll misses in assaults, and that's 1 point. We then have 2 full rifle platoons of 9 teams, and we have a short platoon of 5. In formation as well, we have 3 Breda MG teams, 3 81mm mortars, and 2 units of 47mm anti-tank guns. So we have a unit of 4 and a unit of 3. The 3 I'm proxying using, I think, the 20mm that you get in the weapons platoons. And that is it for that company. In support, we have 3 Panzer IVs, 2 long, 1 short, and then we have a fully kitted out Africa rifle platoon. So that's 4 MG teams, a heavy machine gun, a anti-tank gun, and a mortar. Another command card is Stuka support, so basically the Italians can take aircraft Stukas, and soft skin transport for the Africa rifles. And even more command cards, we have Saharina, so basically if there's a card that stops my reserves or aircraft coming in, I can burn this and it ignores the effects of that card. I have Fortify the Building, which is going to be useless on this map. Diversionary Tactics, which will be useless because it's a meeting engagement, and Pasagalia Bombs, which will be equipped to, let's say, 1st Platoon, and that might come in handy. And that is it. That is the Italian list. A lot of meat on this rifle company. Hopefully some of them will be elite, and I think the mission is Dust Up off the top of my head, so there's going to be a lot waiting to come on. So there we go. So let's see what the British are rocking for today's game. Okay, so this is Dave's company for today, a Anzac rifle company, as this is being fielded from an Anzac battalion, regiment. So we have a HQ of 2 teams, and then we have 2 full platoons of 7 rifle Bren gun teams, boys anti-tank rifle, and a 2-inch mortar. Also in the formation we have 2 units of 3 6-pounders around to break into the late war stock, and then 2 units of 4 Vickers heavy machine guns, again needing to use the late war stock. Still in formation, 2 units of 3 universal carriers, and then finally we get into support with 3 Grants, 4 25-pounders, and 3 Valentine 2s. So pretty much geared up to stop infantry, which is pretty much what I got. So and obviously they got their 6-pounders as well, which is pretty good anti-tank gun at mid-war. So those are the lists. Now let's have a look at the table. So here's today's table, pretty much the same as the mid-war Vanguard mission, apart from we got some dunes in the middle. Just easier to get a little bit more money out of the table when I set it up, and it's a little easier to use it since 2 mid-war games in a row. Didn't have to pack it up. So we have difficult terrain in this rocky outcrop, that's impassable there in the middle. So basically stationary infantry get bulletproof cover in here, and obviously concealment. Soft sand, so that's difficult terrain and you can't dig in on it. Dunes, so it's tall. We've got scrub, which is soft terrain, no checks needed for this, it's just going to be terrain dash. You have the wadi here, so that's going to be 2 cross checks that go down the bank and then back up, apart from the fords, which are just going to be a terrain dash. Another little dune here, and then we have some more tall terrain in these palms, and that is it. So we have deployment, and the mission is dust up. Okay, so we are deployed. In reserves for me, I have my unit of 3 anti-tank guns, 1st platoon, and I also have the Panzer IVs. For Dave, he has the Valentines, the Grants, Universal Carriers, and the 6-pounders. Dave's spearheaded down here, and in the bubble he's put the 25-pounders and a platoon of Anzacs. On this near objective we have some Vickers heavy machine guns and 3 more 6-pounders, and then over yonder we have the HQ with a platoon and some heavy machine guns. For me, it's basically a scattering. So we've got the remaining large platoon here with the mortars behind, and then the heavy machine guns to their left. Right behind them we have the Africa rifles, which are dismounted for now. HQ, which is the elite, back here. The other anti-tank guns, which are also elite, and the small platoon guarding this objective. So that is us fully deployed, and being a meeting engagement we both roll a die, and the highest one will be going first. So try to do as best we can in the middle. We get a 5 and a 1, so I will be going first. Best of luck to you, Dave. But it is a meeting engagement, so I will not be able to fire my artillery, so could be not great. And it's also delayed reserve, so I won't be seeing any reserves for a while. Okay, so being this campaign, I have drawn a battle deck card, and we have a sandstorm. So it's only going to be until the start of my next turn, but it might give me a bit of cover and will limit his artillery for next turn. So good timing, I guess. So off we go into movement. Okay, German movement. I've gone bold, big and bold. The Africa rifles minus their mortar have gone in their trucks and they've driven forward. They also pass to follow me. So being night, because of the sandstorm, this might make them survive a little bit. Otherwise, might be digging some graves from the Africa rifle. So that was pretty much my turn, because I'm not going to really be able to see much with anything, and it'll invite easy cover fire from the British next turn. So that shall be me for this turn. Okay, British movement. This platoon and the HQ are advancing steadily over the brow of this dune. Over down south here we have this platoon advancing up with the Universal Carriers. And that is it. So will they be shooting? How far can the British see? Okay, British shooting. 25-pounders ranged in first time at night. Pinned the heavy machine guns, the rifles, and killed one of the mortars. And then the Vickers heavy machine guns ranged in by here. No kills, but I did lose. I did have 3 failed saves, which was unfortunate, but luckily they were in foxholes. And then the other Vickers did not successfully range in, so they'll have to be next time for them. The Universal Carriers can see this platoon, but have decided not to fire. The 6-pounders can only see 4 inches. Because they did have a chance maybe to fire at these. So we are going into Italian turn 2. Italian motivation. Mortars have rallied and passed their last stand because they are an infantry team and down to 2. Like they do have a HQ in case they start wavering. Second platoon here has rallied and heavy machine guns have not. Good news, Stukas are on their way. Axis movement. The Africa Rifles have got out of their trucks since it's daylight now, or the sandstorm's gone. So they're going into the light cover by here, and the Stukas are coming in by this way, and that is it for my movement. Going to try and use what available artillery I have left to try and soften up the British position. So here we go, finally into Axis shooting. Okay, Axis shooting, ranged in, second attempt on here, but only got 1 hit, who shrugged it off from the Stukas. My mortars, elite mortars, tried to range in here, no terrain of any kind, needing a 3. I did not get it. The mortar from the rifle platoon ranged in, I think it was second attempt, got no hits whatsoever, and that's on the first roll of the dice because I had to re-roll my hits. The Africa Rifles managed to pin the Vickers heavy machine guns with just MG fire. Unfortunately, no kills. A bunch of failed saves, but that was it. The Brother MGs then also opened up on this rifle platoon who were already pinned from the Stukas, but I got 1 kill. That is it so far. So we're going into British turn 2.
Aircraft?
Oh yeah, the aircraft are going as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that is it. Okay, so Dave drew a new battle deck card. We don't know what it is though, but his face shows that it's not very useful yet. These Anzacs here have not rallied, but the Vickers heavy machine guns have. And I did see a 1 roll in, but it just changed last minute for a 3, because these are infantry units who are affected by the Anzac card, which we'll double check. Okay, so we're going into British movement. Okay, so with these units here not being able to advance further forward, they've tried to dig in, which they've unfortunately failed, so they're just going to go to ground. And Dave, being in a good position with his 25 pounders where they're ranged in, is reluctant to use a smoke barrage to cover this infantry over here. So they've halted their advance for now, tried to dig in on the dune but have failed, but the HQ has. So the British advance is going to just wait for a turn and soften up the Italians with artillery, which so far has been working quite nicely. So we go into British shooting. British shooting was to pick on this rifle platoon here. 2 units of Vickers heavy machine guns with basically 6 guns at short range, 6 pounders at short range, and universal carriers at short range. Whittled them down to just a heavy machine gun and 1 rifle team, and that's it. Pinned and last standing. And then the 25 pounders re-ranged in over here. They've pinned the mortars again, and they have pinned the rifle platoon, but no kills luckily, even with my re-rolls. So we're going into Axis turn 3. Okay, Axis motivation. I do have a pinned infantry platoon here as well. That rally. So everything has rallied and passed their last stands. Well done, gents. No Stukas this turn, but I have got a unit of reserves that have moved on by here. So they will be doing a follow me, just so I can wrap around a little bit more around these 25 pounders. And my artillery are going to have to pin them, because 8 shots might be enough to stop me, and I have to do it so to mitigate defensive fire. So that is it. So now we go into movement. Let's find out if this platoon is elite first, because I think someone asked that they would like to see the roll, so the camera will shake for a little bit while I find the dice. And I have it. Are they elite? They are elite.
Oh, God.
Yes. Axis movement, follow me past successfully on a 2 because they're elite. Other movement, I'm kind of stuck down here because these universal carriers are going to stop my infantry doing what I need them to do. And then these guys are just going to sit tight, fire out, go out in a blaze of glory, and that is it. So we go into Axis shooting. Okay, so both artillery units ranged in by here to protect my infantry. Ranging in was actually quite good, but I got no hits on the 225 pounders. This rifle platoon here then opened up, only got 2 hits. I was agonisingly short, got in 2 more hits with this Brider MG, which is the only one in range. So they're one hit from pinning, but I have nothing else to do it with. And that is it. So no kills this turn. This rifle platoon's already pinned. So that's 8 defensive fire shots because they're not forward firing. I'm going to have to do it so the infantry can't help out. But here we go. Let's watch them stop in defense, being stopped by defensive fire. So we have assault phase. The Italians are going in. Okay, so the assault, I lost 2 of my infantry, but I killed 2 25-pounders, and because there was no within in 4, I won the assault, and the other guys did not have enough, they didn't have a tactical move, so they could not break off, so they surrendered, and then I put these guys into the wadi for some cover, and then one, I think it was the unit leader of the platoon here to move forward, to get outside of 6 inches, and that is it. That's a successful assault. I can start pulling my guys away after Lucas losing another artillery unit to 25-pounders. So we now go into British turn 3. British motivation. These guys again have not rallied. That's handy for me. In other words, they managed to roll a 5 for reserves, but then I played my battle deck card, which is lost, which meant Dave had to re-roll his cards. So, and I realised I actually have a command card, I guess, to do that anyway, but I've used it anyway, so there's no reserves coming in this turn, basically. That's the end of it. So we go into British movement, and what will they do? Just to recap, it's not I have a command card that gets him to reroll reserves. I have a card that stops him making me reroll my reserve rolls, if that clears everything up. So now we go into British movement. British movement, this platoon is moving down. They did an unsuccessful follow me, and that is it. So now we go into British shooting, and will we see the end of the Africa Rifles? The universal carriers moved back as well. We just caught that, and I think Dave wanted to move them, so I reminded him. So we're just about to see whether this unit of Vickers can finish off these 2. British shooting, the Vickers here, that's all that was needed to get rid of the guys here. Universal carriers got 6 shots on these guys here, but I passed every single save. These guys truly are elite Italian infantry. And that is it for British shooting. Because these guys did try to range in up here, they tried to range in back here, but failed again. That unit of Vickers heavy machine guns, late war ones, do not like ranging in. And that is it, so we go into Axis turn 4. Okay, Axis motivation, I have another pinned down unit over there. They do not rally. So basically, the mortars have passed their last stand. The German mortar has run away, and as you just seen there, the Italian infantry that are in a good position to actually do stuff has remained pinned. No aircraft and no reserves either, so the Italian attack is stalled when we're in a really good position, which is unfortunate, but we have the 1 artillery unit that can maybe fire, so we're going into Italian movement. We have movement. The Italian platoon here, 2nd platoon that has remained with their heads gone to ground, have moved forward. Did try to do a follow me, but I have failed. So they are going to try and dig out this British platoon here. Now the universal carriers have turned their back on them, so hopefully we can get a few. And they're pinned as well, so that's already helpful. So we're going into Italian shooting. Okay, so no shooting down here because these guys want to go to ground and these guys did a follow me. My artillery ranged in up here, and I've pinned the Vickers heavy machine guns and the 6-pounders, and I actually managed to kill one of the 6-pounders as well. So that's great. I did use a battle deck card, Artillery Expert, which gave me a +1 to range in, and I rolled a 1 my first attempt, so that's great. The Breder MGs then had an option to go for these at long range or the guys cresting a hill at long range. So I went up here and I got 6 shots, needing 6s. No kills though, but well, if these guys stay pinned, that's a miracle. So now we go into the assault. Damn it, Dave rolled bang on 5 dice on defensive fire. I only lost 1 guy though, but they've had to go back to their starting position and are pinned. So we're going into British turn 4. Okay, so far this platoon has rallied, heavy machine guns have rallied, 6-pounders have not, but this platoon has, and we have a unit of reserves coming in, but what is it going to be? The dilemma is Dave's problem. Okay, so British motivation, which we've done. No, we've already covered this, sorry. We're actually going into British movement, but the Universal Carriers have already moved on doing tactical so they can get some shots off. But interesting choice, Universal Carriers coming in from reserve. Dave, what are you doing?
I don't know.
We don't know.
I'm trying.
Okay, right, so we go into movement and we'll get back to you after that. Okay, British movement, these guys are still coming over the hill. Universal Carriers 2 have dropped back here to whittle these guys down, and these guys are moving forward to maybe assault the Italian infantry here dug in the wadi. So that is it. So now we go into British shooting. Okay, shooting is done. These guys lost a fella due to the Universal Carriers. The Vickers heavy machine guns ranged in here. Another one tried to do as well but failed. So let's get rid of that. They were pinned anyway. The Universal Carriers split their fire, got a bunch of hits, but just the one kill over here. One hit from the infantry before they go into their assault, and that is it. Universal Carriers up here only got the one hit, but I saved. So, British assault. Okay, the assault. I had 7 defensive fire dice and I got 1 hit. My defensive fire is never very good. Bunch of hits. I think the British in total lost 4 guys, including their 2 specialist weapons, and I lost 3 total, so not too bad, but I did break off because of a roll in the end, but it was going pretty good, especially since Dave was not rolling very many 3s in his assault. So that is it. So now we're going into Axis turn 5. Okay, Sandstorm again, thanks to the battle deck cards. Everything's rallied apart from the unit I want to rally. Panzer IVs are in, however, so now we have Axis movement. Okay, so movement. These guys have moved up and done a follow me, so I can maybe sneak around these Universal Carriers as best as I can, and these guys have successfully dug in. And that is it. So with there being a sandstorm, everything's going to be very difficult to hit. But I'm already ranged in with my artillery unit, which did pass their last stand. So we are going into shooting. Okay, so shooting wise, my heavy machine guns couldn't see much. They could see one guy through the sandstorm, and I managed to kill him. I managed to blow up one of the Universal Carriers with the Panzer IVs. And my mortars managed to get rid of one of the Vickers heavy machine guns. So there will be some assaults from the infantry and the Panzer IVs. Hopefully I can get rid of this platoon and force them to last stand and bugger off. And maybe I can pick off some Universal Carriers since I've gone in on the side so they can't shoot me. Well, this guy's not going to go in. He's just, I don't know, distracting them. So we go into assault phase. Okay, so the Panzer IVs got 2 kills in the assault, and then the British broke off for poor rolling. So they'll be last standing, and then the Universal Carriers. I got 3 hits in total, but all passed their saves, but then broke off. And that is it for my turn 5. So now we go into British turn 5. Okay, so far for the motivation, everything is rallied and stayed on for the British. And Dave finally drew a battle deck card that was useful. Desert Flies. So he's put this on this unit because they're last standing. So basically they have -1 motivation when they have to try and last stand them. So this could be them gone. So good use of the Desert Flies there. They're buzzing around, really annoying them. So they lost enough guys. And now the flies are adding to their misery. And Dave has 1 unit of reserves coming in because he failed on his 3 dice, unfortunately. So what will it be? Okay, so Valentine's are coming on. Terrain dash with a follow me. Universal Carriers are pushing up. I'm guessing these Universal Carriers are going to move somewhere. These guys are moving backwards, and there's a reason why, because in the attrition rules, if you're in your deployment zone, you can do a skill test, and if you pass, you withdraw your unit. And this is in an event where you're starting to lose casualties and starting to see as a no way out of winning the game. So it's an option for Dave in another turn, and he will have achieved that. These guys are moving back and almost in a deployment zone, and then we'll see what happens with the universal carriers. British shooting. The universal carriers managed to get a hit on the anti-tank guns, but unfortunately the failed save was not converted. The Vickers heavy machine guns tried to range in here. The first one failed. The second one ranged in on the second attempt. It's very difficult now because there's night fighting. They got 2 hits but no failed saves, and now we move into Axis turn 6. Okay, motivation. I rallied the platoon in the shrub, but the guys over here who've done so well up till now have not rallied. My mortars needed a 5 because of desert flies, so they run away, which is good because they were ranged in basically on this blob of infantry. And then I used the Blessing of the Führer command card, battle deck card, sorry, that automatically roll a 4, so I did that for my Stukas. And then my final reserve came in the anti-tank gun, so I moved them on here to maybe try and plug away at some universal carriers. And that is it. So we are going into movement. Okay, movement. My HQ is moved up because these guys will probably need some motivation with Valentine's bearing down on them at some point. The guys in the shrub have dug in, and then these guys can't really do anything, so they've gone to ground. And the Panzer IVs have done a tactical to try and pick off this retreating platoon and get a bit more kills. And Stukas are just going to drop some bombs and see what I can do. So we go into shooting. Shooting Stukas, I think I might have gone themselves a man of the match ability here, because they killed a 6-pounder, a Vickers heavy machine gun, and pinned the platoon. My heavy machine guns managed to kill the 2 IC. My anti-tank guns over here managed to kill 2 universal carriers and bail another, and that's some casualties over here. But my Panzer IV's got 5 hits total on this platoon, but no kills. Good saving over here. So we're going into British turn 6. Okay, British motivation. They put another card that's basically low ammo, so basically every time I fire these, if I roll a 1, they can't fire. Universal carriers run away. The Vickers heavy machine guns run away. Everyone passing motivations apart from the HQ that is pinned, but he can pull back this turn. So we might see some British units withdrawing. So here we go into British movement. British motivation. Valentines have moved forward. The 6-pounders have withdrawn. These guys failed, unfortunately. These guys who weren't in the deployment zone yet have just moved back onto the objective. So there might be a chance these guys have not withdrawn, so they can at least add some artillery, and they already ranged in as well. And we got these guys here who will be launching an assault. So that is it, and that might be the final British turn. It might even win it for them. Dave the pessimist.
Maybe.
Okay. British shooting. These guys are pinned courtesy of the mortars, but no kills, and the Valentines failed to hit anything. So it's all about whether they can hold off on counter-attacking, because these guys don't have sticky bombs. First platoon has. So the assault happens, and I can't do anything in defensive fire because my guys are only 86. Unfortunately, the assault did not go to plan for the Valentines. Dave, don't roll a 1, Dave, happened. I lost 2 guys and I'm pinned and holding the objective with 1 more Valentine left. So that is it. So now we go into Axis turn 7. The Axis motivation, everything is rallied, and I have aircraft in again. So we have movement, and I can make my way towards this objective while Dave still scrabbles to withdraw his units. So this is it. So we go into German movement. Okay, shooting phase, movement phase. Panzer IVs have moved up another turn, they'll be on the objective. Peppered the infantry here in the Palm Groves, got 2 hits out of 12, but no kills. And the Stukas failed the range in, so they've lost their man of the match status. And that is it. So we go into British turn 7, where they continue to try and withdraw their units. Okay, so the fellows over here failed their last stand, the HQ is still pinned, and the Valentine passed his last stand as well, so it's time for Dave to withdraw stuff. Okay, so we're going to call it there because the UCs, this platoon, and the Vickers heavy machine guns have pulled back, leaving just the Valentine and the HQ. I could probably play another turn just to try and pick some off, but I feel I've done enough. So it is a major victory because I have lost the Africa rifles and the mortars. But yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah.
Again, went my way a lot in terms of battle deck cards again. I haven't got anything to play at the end of the game, have you?
I did have low fuel, but does that affect? So it's play at the end of the game. Your opponent only relieves half the reinforcement points for the game.
Okay, so Dave's playing this at the end of the game. Low fuel, so the Axis player being me and Sherry and Tom only get half the reinforcement points, which is actually quite good because we're in a very good position. So I'll work out now. I'll get to the little booklet I've made for this campaign and see how many points I'll actually be getting. Okay, so normally for this kind of victory I would be getting 30 points and Dave would be getting 15 points. These are reserve points, but I'll only be getting 15 instead now, which is not a bad trade-off. And that is it. So good game, thank you Dave. And now we will be going into a reinforcement phase, which I shall film once the boys have done it. That's it. So, and this should be coming out just before New Year, so have a happy New Year everyone, and big game for the channel this year, featuring new stuff, Russians, lots of new things, and maybe some new things next year as well. So until then, everyone stay safe, and hopefully 2022 will be a bit better. And I think it's 20th anniversary of Flames of War as well, with a new mid-war book coming out. Who saw that come in? So till then, stay safe. So there you go, the Axis with another 7-2 victory, although we both receive the same reinforcement points for this game because Dave played low fuel on me at the end of the game, which effectively halved the amount of reinforcement points I received, which is a shame. But the Allies do have disrupted supplies played on them, which means if they are going to spend their reinforcement points, they have to spend double the amount they normally would. So Lucas is playing cautiously and is going to try not to spend any. He does have a lot in his reinforcement pool, as you will see in the next slides, but the British Anzacs have taken a bit of a beating these two games. As you can see, the victory for the Axis didn't come without cost. Effectively, two of the platoons can no longer be fielded, so they've had to go into reinforcement pool with only one platoon at minimum strength. Won't be too hard to reinforce it with what's in the reinforcement pool. Obviously, the mortars lost, the Africa rifle platoon lost, along with their soft skin because it is an attached unit. But all in all, not too bad in the terms of casualties for the Axis so far in round one. We will be going both attacking next round with the British having to defend because they're on the back foot. So it will be interesting to see whether me and Sherry will keep the momentum going or will be solely on Sherry while I go to Berlin to receive some medals for my deeds in the desert. So as you can see, fairly heavy losses for the British. Some stuff in the reinforcement pool, and this is just a reinforcement pool from this game. It will be combined with the next one, so they have enough to reinforce their rifle companies, and they will be able to cobble together 3 Valentine 2s, or as I put it here, I've just noticed Valentine. A little typo there, sorry everyone. But yeah, the British are going to be hard pressed. They desperately need their reinforcement points, but they get to build them up from this round to next round, and disrupted orders can only be played once per campaign, otherwise it'd be very harsh, and I'm hoping it doesn't get played against me and Sherry next game. So stay touched. I will be doing a another video in a week's time summarising the reinforcement step, and also before that we will look at how the regiments currently stand before any spending. The British one can actually fit in 2 pages now, which ain't great, and it's not a full second page either. So stay tuned, we'll follow in a week, and this is meant to come out just before New Year, I think. Yes, I'll put it on the Friday, 31st, so hopefully you haven't started your festivities yet and you've been able to watch the game, or maybe watch as a potential hangover cure on the 1st. Until then, I hope 2021 has been good for you, it's been good for me on the channel, and again, hopefully 2022 will be even better. As mentioned, 20th anniversary, I believe, the Flames of War, surprising mid-war book coming out, very interesting to see if there's new stuff. And roll on the German Bulge book, which is ages away now, but I can't wait to get it, and well, this mid-war will keep me busy until then. So until then, everyone stay safe, and